Today, we're talking about gathering and how to most efficiently level your gathering. And I'll be specifically talking about an area that many people may not know about if they haven't gone into the faction vendor or spent a bunch of time looking around in the vendor because they don't really do a lot of PvP or get involved in the faction stuff. So they just don't access the store. Or maybe you have seen these items, but you don't think it's worth it, or you just move on and buy other stuff. Today, I want to discuss leveling efficiency when it comes to these boxes, and I would like to argue against buying the highest tier box available and actually break down buying a different combination of these boxes in order to reach max gathering the most efficiently and the least costly method. If you have an opposing opinion or you think I've missed something or I'm off in my numbers, leave it down below. I have compiled a spreadsheet, which I don't normally do. So this is a analysis breakdown that we will try to jump in and see if we can find the best method. And let's figure this out together. To start, I've compiled a spreadsheet that breaks down the overall cost of each of these boxes, as well as the item that you receive from this box, and the overall experience that you get when you turn in that item at each of the different crafting benches, which I'll give an overview of that at the end of the video. To start, we have the minor cache, and that costs 1.5 gold, as well as 1,187 faction tokens. The major cache costs 50 gold, 1,900 faction tokens. The greater costs 100 gold and 3,800 faction tokens. The grand costs 300 gold and 7,600 faction tokens. And lastly, the mentor cache costs 2,000 gold and 9,500 faction tokens. You'll notice that the amount of experience that you get from each of these items when you turn them in is different based on the skill, which we can go ahead and freeze this top one real quick so we can see it. That way we can always know which column is which, regardless where we are. So when you buy the mentor cache for fishing, you receive 2 bizarre pearl. For the grand, you get 2 unusual pearl. Greater gives you 1, major gives you 1 abnormal, and minor gives you 1 strange pearl. And each of these pearls, when turned in, gives you a variety of different experience. What I've done in this spreadsheet is try to show an overall examination of exactly what you can expect as far as it goes for your leveling experience based on each of these boxes that you buy. The most important row, in my opinion, is the days to 200 for each of these types. You'll see that if you buy the mentor cache for fishing and only the mentor cache for fishing and turn in this experience, it'll take you 31 days of buying this cache to hit level 200, which as it currently stands, I made all of these baselines for 200 because that was the easiest numbers for me to calculate off of and to find online, as well as 205 is the breakpoint that you need to hit for a lot of these gathering skills so that you can gather the highest tier of item. So hitting 200 will be your first checkpoint, and then 205 won't take you but another crate or 2, maybe an additional day before you hit 205. So after 31 days of just buying the mentor cache for fishing, you can hit 200 in fishing. If you buy all of the available boxes, you will hit 200 in fishing within 12 days. It should be noted that buying all of these caches will cost you somewhere around 2,400 or 500 gold. So it is pretty expensive to do this, which if you are doing it for all 5 skills, every day it will cost you somewhere around 13,000 gold and around 115,000 faction tokens. So it's not going to be very feasible for you to buy all of these caches every day. And quite honestly, I don't think it's the most efficient way either. The very first thing that I'll say is that 2,000 gold is very steep for this mentor cache, considering how much experience you are getting. To put it into comparison, buying the greater and the grand will net you more experience in 2 of these categories, and you'll come pretty close in 2 more. And then for skinning, you don't get exactly as close, but it's still at least somewhat in the ballpark, coming somewhere in around 14,500. So about 3,200 experience less. But where it makes the most difference is in your gold, which I believe is going to be the big hurdle for most people. For faction experience, you will end up spending about 900 experience more, but as long as you're participating in races or doing your 3 faction quests a day, I don't believe the faction tokens are what's going to hold you back. To put it into example here, for completing 3 faction quests each day, you will get 39,000 faction tokens before we count in your 3 daily bonuses. If you were to buy the Greater and the Grand, it'll cost you 57,000 faction tokens each day. And as long as you're doing your 3 faction missions, you should be able to buy at least one of the Grands each, as well as a few of the other Greaters. And you might have to skip out on a few of them, but you can skip out on the ones that maybe you do the most of. If you like to skin, then skip out on those and buy for the other ones. And what you'll notice here is we save about 1,600 gold, and yet we only lose 4 days before reaching level 200 in gathering or fishing. And that's pretty good. When it comes to being the most efficient, I think if you can afford all tiers of the boxes every day, then do so. But my recommendation for the most part would be to completely stay away from the mentor box, considering how steep the gold cost is when you don't receive a ton of additional experience. If you are looking to reach max level as fast as possible in all of these skills, or even just one in particular, then buying all of the boxes, which will again cost you around 2,400 gold, as well as right around 24,000 faction tokens for just that one tier. And you can reach level 200 in about 12 days for fishing, 3 days for logging, 7 days for harvesting, 5 days for mining, and around 6 days for skinning. And again, for this example, I am using the level 200 as your max level, because at that point, you should have access to be able to harvest all of the resources for that specific gathering type. If you are looking to reach 200 or 205 as quickly as possible without breaking the bank for these 2,000 caches, I would recommend that you buy the Grand, Greater, Major, and Minor cache. You'll notice that the difference between a lot of these are only a few days, but if you're looking to do it as fast as possible, the additional 150 gold and 6,000 or 7,000 faction tokens is not a huge cost, and it can increase your time to reaching max level, or at least 205. If you're looking for the absolute most economical way that doesn't spend a ton of your tokens, I would recommend you buy the Grand and the Greater cache every day. Doing this method will cost you 2,000 gold a day and 57,000 faction tokens. You'll be able to hit 200 in fishing after 28 days, logging in 7, harvesting in 15, mining in 12, and skinning in 13 days. And that is if you don't do any gathering along with this. And if you're looking for a cleaned up version of the spreadsheet so you can see it, I included it right now so that you can make your own analysis if you would like. And of course, critique my numbers. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is based on the data that I collected. And I'll show you real quick what you can do with each of these and where you turn them in. I'll buy one of the lower caches for this example. You'll see now in our resources, we have a pearl, a resin, pollen, an ore, and a bone. We will start our adventure here at the kitchen. And when you open up the kitchen and you scroll down to the research section, you will find this entire area where we can turn all the way up to a bizarre pearl in. And that is where you will change the pearl in for fishing experience. Next, we'll go to the smelter. And at the smelter, we can turn in our strange ore for experience. After that, we can go to the wood shop. And we can turn in our resin for logging experience. Next up is the loom. And we can turn in our pollen for harvesting experience. And last but not least is the tannery, where we can turn in our strange bones for skinning experience. And that's all I have for you guys today. If you are looking to legitimately increase your gathering score, there are many different websites online. Just type in New World resource map or some variation like that, and you can find all kinds of different nodes and create your own gathering routes for increasing your gathering. But if you're looking to just increase it as high as possible, as fast as possible, and you're okay spending some money, then this would be the method that I recommend. If you found the video useful, comment down below and do all the usual YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.